Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Stu and the Nun, and it's Stu and the Rob. Got me tonight to Rob, the unpaid producer, even has all that in his title there. And we are episode 405. Sorry for starting a little late. A few technical things, had to get some stuff together. So if you are watching us live, we did start a little bit late, but if you're watching us later, well, it doesn't matter that we started late because you're just watching it later. So how you doing, Rob?
I'm good. And yourself?
Good, good. The
Trying not to sweat to death down here in the southern office. It was, I think, 104 today with a heat index of like 115. So,
You need air conditioning.
oh, I have air conditioning, but it's still hot outside, and
Yeah.
I still have things to do outside.
Oh, I remember those days living down in Arkansas, and going to be down there. I'll be experiencing that soon enough in the South once we move out of here. I know I will have to get used to having good AC. I have good AC here in upstate New York, but I will need a lot better once we move somewhere
Yeah,
down south.
yeah.
That is for sure. But yeah, so. Well, hey, it's August, so I mean, when will it start cooling down? Late September, maybe. Call it
Not
cool.
soon enough. Not so. I've got like I said, I've got outdoor chores to do. I've got mowing to do. I've got I've got 10 acres here, so it's a lot to manage. Um, you know, so
What do you got?
not
Nice,
and I
nice
don't have the
zero
kids.
turn.
Yeah, I don't. Well, I've got a tractor and a zero turn, but I don't
Uh,
have the kids here to help me. Help
yeah,
me maintain the property. So it's just the wife and I usually.
but yeah, it's yeah. When they're gone, it's like me. I like my Christmas lights. I got to do it all by myself. No one here to help me. But yeah,
And you go all out. You go music, and you do.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do quite a bit and everything. But yeah. So, but no, today was a. I think we hit 76 today. So, uh, but I spent the last couple of days in Boston. I was in Boston for a couple of days, so I was enjoying some nice weather there, right on the water. But flew back this morning, so road time. But anyways, yeah, it's crazy with this kind of. I mean, 76 ain't bad by all means, but even though it's like in the 80s a couple of days, but we're gonna be out hanging ground blinds and cameras and cutting deer shooting lanes this weekend. So
Hunting season's right around the corner.
it is come. We're a month, just under a month out. We have early doe season, and in about a month I'll be out hunting around the 21st or so. But
It's hard to
the
believe that there's only like four and a half, well, 4 months and 10 days or whatever left in the year.
yeah,
I mean, it's already the end of August.
I know. I was on a call today with work. We're just like, how is it August, much less end of August? I mean, and down south where you're at, Texas, the whole southeast, kids are back in school.
Mm-hmm.
Up north, we don't usually go until right after Labor Day, Tuesday or Wednesday after Labor Day. So, but obviously they go to school till late June. But yeah, it is. The summer's kind of over, at least down south,
Yeah.
and yeah, getting into the fall time, and hopefully you guys get a break from the heat because that is. It seems like that's a little high for. Well, it's August, I guess, right? So
Yeah. August is usually pretty hot, and it's not for very long. It's just a couple of weeks. Whereas when I lived in Texas, I remember one year we had something like almost 100 days of triple digits. You remember that year when Bastrop was on fire,
yeah, yeah,
right
yeah.
outside of Austin?
But it
I
seems
think
like
we had.
there's a lot of times I've been in and out of Texas a lot. A lot of times I would come down and be like, oh, we just got out of triple digits. I'm like, it's 99. You're still close enough.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we,
Yeah,
we do get at least a little bit cooler here, and we get snow, which I didn't get in Texas, so it's not too bad.
yeah. So, but yeah, those days are definitely. And then when Texas and that area gets hit with ice or cold, then they crumble under that too. So
Oh yeah, yeah. At
um,
least around here, they're kind of prepared for that.
a little bit, yeah, yeah. You just got to deal with down trees and that kind of thing and
Yeah.
everything. But yeah, so a lot going on. Weather's going on. Kids going back to school in half the country, pretty much. The you had some grandbabies and people with the summer, and you had some good time. That probably made the summer fly by.
I've got a new grandbaby coming tomorrow.
Really?
Yes, I will be down in Texas for Labor Day to get to see the newest grandbaby. So
Oh, that's how many is that for you? How many of those?
7.
Oh my lord, dude! Wow, we're expecting number three in from my middle son in December.
This is the
So
third from the second youngest.
okay, yeah.
So
So we're excited about that too. But yeah, well, a lot of things going on as always. I know you'd put together a couple things, and we can run with that. Where do you think we should hit first, as our listeners and viewers to tune in there?
well, one of the things that's big in the news right now that I didn't mention was the national debt. We're now at 40 trillion, up from 39. And while it's very easy to blame the current administration for that because it happened on their watch, we didn't get here overnight. And one of the things that drives me absolute crazy is the Elizabeth Warrens and the Bernie Sanders and, well, I mean, just most of the Democrat Party. Give us more money. We know how to spend it. And if you look at the plan that Bernie Sanders has and Elizabeth Warren in particular, and what
Mhm.
they already have plans to spend money they don't have yet, right? And so you look at places like California and New York that's trying to impose these billionaire taxes, right? They they're not looking to pay down any debt. They're not looking to pay off, anything like that. They all have new plans to spend money they don't have yet that will yet increase the debt even further. So why anybody would logically want to give the most fiscally inept people on the planet more money just blows me away.
Yeah, I mean it's like um, donating your money to a nonprofit and just watching them blow the money on stuff that it's not helping whatever they're nonprofit for, right?
Yeah.
And it's like people that there's some people that are members of those big churches where the pastor or preacher has their own private jet, and you're
Yeah.
like, is that the right? Are you a good steward of that money? It seems like you should be better with it than that. But yeah, when you have at 40 trillion, like you said, and it just keeps going. And man, the swamp wasn't built overnight. Just like
No.
any swamp, takes years and years of decaying and rot and that kind of thing for to build in a literal swamp. Well, the swamp in DC isn't much different, right? Just rot building on top of each other and decaying, laying on top of each other for years on end. That kind of and then just saturated with water just sits there and holds it all, and it stinks, and you can't clean it right away. So um,
Well, and Republicans aren't innocent of anything in that
oh
either. I mean,
no
I
no
think
no,
the last president that left with a surplus was actually Clinton.
he
I think when
was, yeah,
he
he
left
was, you're
office, we actually had a good surplus. So, Republicans they get on this pedestal and they preach conservative values. They preach this conservative spending. Yet we end up in the same spot no matter who's in charge.
yep
And
yep.
I think we look at China, we look at Iran, we look at all these global threats. Our national debt is a huge threat to this country.
Oh, it absolutely is. We had a guest on. I don't remember his name, right? But we remember we had the guest on last year. Really sharp guy that because of Paul we found him, and he was the economist. And
Hmm.
I want to say it was last year, and I just can't remember his name. But he talked about that, right? He talked about he broke that stuff down Barney style for us, and
Yeah.
just talked about what a threat the national debt is. No, it's a good one. It's one I've talked to right after. I was so impressed with that one. I remember that many people, I was like, you need to go back and listen to my show I just had last week or week before, like for the 3 weeks after. Like the dude blew me away
Yeah.
as he broke down our national debt and put it in a way that was easy to understand. But yeah, so yeah, 40 trillion. And like you said, no one is. There's not one. There's is an individual people that want to do something, but when it's kind of the not in my backyard thing, right? There's politicians that say they want to do something, and then once you want to cut something, a project or something that affects their constituents or is from their area or will help them get reelected, then all of a sudden that's off the table, right?
Right.
They all want to cut someone else's stuff, not from the lobbyists that pay them a lot, make sure that they eat well, and and not from their constituents who will vote them out if they go against them. It's
Well, every cycle, they're supposed to pass a budget every year, right? And but every cycle we see these plans that are going to reduce the deficit, over 10 years, over 15, over 20 years. Well, in the time span that that's supposed to happen, they continue to add more to it, and so we're never going to see that reduction that they've proposed. And so it's this constant kicking of the can all the way down the street that you're kicking the can downhill at this point. You're never going to catch up to it to get the spending under control.
right.
Um, but the grandkid I'm going to have tomorrow probably still, will be at 80 trillion by the time, he's my age.
Yeah, we can't even probably can't even conceive it.
Yeah.
To be honest. But yeah, so now something we just got to deal with. I mean, hopefully we can not saddle them with with all that debt. But I mean, there's so many other problems that are facing the young people of today, right? You've got I remember growing up, they throw around the term Nazi now all the time, but we didn't back in our day. But calling someone a commie was almost as bad.
Hmm.
And you surely didn't want to be called a commie. You didn't want to be, you didn't want your neighborhood to think of you that way, or so on and so forth. But boy, it sure seems that is that is now a pretty common thing, and people are proud of it. This DSA thing is just throwing the Democrats. It took the progressives, the squad, to a whole new level. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone thought, okay, there's your squad, 5 or 6, mostly women, young, crazy. A couple of them have already gotten voted out and stuff, but you've got this group of people, and they just it was the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America. I love how they put Democrat Socialists. To me, it's just commie. It's a communist.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were just like, here, hold my beer, to the squad. And like we're to the point where you have AOC now calling how woke one, didn't know there were versions, woke one was a mistake and it was crazy, and they're trying to demean that. And when she was the one that was talking the Green New Deal and getting rid of cars and cow farts and all this stuff of no more airplanes, not cars, but no more airplanes. And now she's saying, oh, that was woke one, that was crazy.
Hmm.
Because the DSA has come in and they're they're not even hiding it, right? Getting rid of the Senate, getting rid of the Supreme Court. No borders, no ICE. Obviously, they always say that. Release them from the jails. I mean, they aren't even trying to subtly hint to things. They are just saying it outright.
Right. Well,
Is that
I
good?
mean,
Is that good for the Republicans come the midterm, or do you think worse?
well, I think it's good. It's bad for the country, I think, because it is a growing number that you're seeing, right? I mean, you're seeing more and more of these candidates. I mean, look, we've got the first socialist um, governor, or the first socialist mayor of a major city in New York, right? So, and he's already looking to stand up these free grocery stores. Well, anybody with a IQ north of a potato understands that there's nothing that's free. So that the state and the city of New York City has to get the money somewhere to fill that grocery store, and that comes from the taxpayers, right? So there is nothing that's free. And then they're now talking about providing some of the other grocery stores that actually charge uh, some some tax breaks and other mechanisms to kind of make the playing field a little bit equal. Well, again, that comes from somewhere. Nothing is
Right.
free, and
Right.
everybody always looks and says, "Well, just get it from the government." The government gets its money from us. That's where it comes from.
Yeah.
The
The
working
government
people of
doesn't.
the
You're right.
country.
The government doesn't make money. It is not a
They
profit
no,
center.
no, they
Um,
don't manufacture any goods. They don't manufacture any products
no.
or services. They are a 100% of their funding comes from the taxpayers.
They are a
So
consumer.
yes,
They provide services, or should, to the citizens as outlined in the Constitution and our founding fathers documents, but they don't. I mean, when when oil, they buy the oil, it goes into strategic reserve. When they release it, they don't sell it. They just release it to get on the market. They don't make a profit off of it.
Right.
They don't dig out all the minerals. Like a lot of other countries that are, mostly communist and third world, and it could be Venezuela, China, whatever. They rape the land of materials to make money, right? Our government
Right.
makes money off of taxes, and they're not a good steward of that, and they don't do a good job of that. But yeah, every time you see a budget, as crazy as it sounds, um, trillions this or whatever, that's all coming out of the pockets of everyday Americans and corporations.
Well, if you talk to anybody that studies China, they will always tell you that China plays the long game. China doesn't do anything, for the immediate 5, 10, 15 years, right? They do this for the long haul. And so the rotten decay that we're seeing, especially in this younger generation, started years ago in our public schools. And the poisoning and the lack of teaching proper things to these kids, right? So you get these kids combined, that have this, improper teachings, right? You ask any of them, well, where has socialism ever worked? Oh, well, it's never been tried. Bullshit. It's been tried in a lot of places and fails every time. But you take that combined with um, the current economy and the way things are for these kids, where they can't afford, to live in an apartment. They can't afford to buy a house. And so anything that they look at that's going to get to them for free is very appetizing. Right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it's this is why when people get older, they tend to turn conservative because they have to start paying these taxes. They have to start paying
yeah.
this stuff, right? It's not
Yeah.
uncommon for younger people to be liberal and they hear all this like, we're just going to give you all this stuff and you don't have to work for it and all that stuff. Obviously, the youth today, I mean, we were bad probably at our age, but
Right.
obviously, I don't know how you work. I wasn't paying. I was in high school right after. Even when I was in the military, I wasn't paying about politics or paying attention to that stuff. And I didn't have a hardcore feeling one way or another on certain things. But once you start watching that, how much goes out of your check, and then sometimes in April you got to give more. People start paying attention, right? It's coming out of their
Sure.
pocket. Whoa, I should like. Where are they spending my money on? And this is why most older people, they get up in their 40s and beyond, they start turning conservative because they are working hard for their money. They're trying to build a career, and then they're just watching it go out the door, and then they just watch a government piss it away with whether it be entitlements to be given out to people and free phones or $800 hammers or paying free medical for illegals, whatever it may be.
Right.
Then people start caring. It blows me away. I have older relatives and people that in my family and people I know that are still hardcore blue thumping libs. I almost said the full word. I just say libs because they're a fan. But I mean, I'm just like, they've worked their whole life in this, and I'm like, they're elderly and they still hardcore Democrat, liberals. And
Yeah.
I'm
I,
just like,
I, I just don't understand that. Right. I
no,
mean, like you said, most as you get to that age and you look at all the taxes you paid and you look at all the money that the government has wasted, you people tend to become a little more conservative. I'm going to put you on hold real quick while I shut my door because my dog won't
I
shut up.
bet you got the dog going. Um, but yeah, so I always got to handle things. You never know what you're gonna get on the show here. So yeah, this DSA thing is something big. I gotta say that um, to see that these politicians come out and they're not winning, they're not cleaning house. They are they're definitely going further left, and but you're seeing some win in some places, not others. I asked Rob a second ago if I thought this was good for um, the Republicans, and I think it is. Rob, I was saying a while back, a number of months when Madami got elected, and I was telling people here in New York, and I think I mentioned on the show that I thought him getting elected would be good for getting rid of Hochul because when she embraced him and supported him, I was confident, and which is what's happening. He's just destroying New York City.
Right.
Um, and they know she aligned with him. So once it was clear he was going to win, because all the Dems could put up against him was someone everyone also hated, Cuomo. That he hopefully will be the downfall of her because she's aligned with him. And so we'll see how that. So that was a good thing, and that's why I kind of think, is it going to be good for the midterms with Al Saeed or whatever his name is, and now you got Angie down in Florida, and you got all these people where, because I'm seeing reports, I don't know if you have that a lot of, I just saw a report today that a heavy contingent of the Jewish people who are registered Democrats, which I also don't get why they're registered Democrats.
Right.
A lot of them are leaving in droves because of the stance of the DSA platform and so many DSA people winning. So I know there was one in Wisconsin or Michigan, something like a week or two ago, that was a midterm or primary, that the Republican Party and Republican PACs were funding, giving money to the DSA candidate because they want the DSA candidate to win, because they just consider that a much easier win come midterm elections.
Well, I mean, the unfortunate thing in our politics is money typically wins, right? And it doesn't matter, which side has it, but the one that has the most wins.
Usually, but
Usually,
Vindman had 16 million in Florida,
yeah,
and Angie the communist had less than 1 million, and she crushed him.
yeah. But the socialists don't typically have a lot of money.
No, they don't.
Yeah,
You're right. They don't have a lot to give to small root grassroots donations and that kind of stuff. They'll get online and
right.
tout stuff and make videos, but that's not going to put money in the bank. But I mean, again, this DSA thing is interesting to watch because people have always talked about wanting a third party, wanting more than just two. Is that considered the third party? I mean, is it? You have established Democrats, several who've gotten booted out because a DSA candidate won. And you have established Democrats who are distancing themselves from these, socialist communist candidates in Florida for sure, in other places. And I mean, it's almost like the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Right.
Is what kind of how I think the GOP may be looking at it at the national level and down to all the local down ballots, is like, yeah, let the DSA candidate come in. It's going to do nothing but split the Democratic vote and drive people away from voting Democrat because they're going to consider the Republican candidate more common sensed.
For as much as I don't like Pelosi, and I know she's not in any kind of official position of power, but she ruled that Democrat Party with an iron fist,
Dude,
almost
they
like a
got
dictator. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now that she's not in a position, you don't hear from her, and you see what the party's turned into. I mean, even the mayor of Seattle is facing a recall. The socialist mayor out there.
I saw that.
Yeah.
She's facing a recall. That didn't last long.
No,
I mean,
no. I'm getting some echo again.
Are you getting some echo? Yeah,
Yeah.
that didn't last long at all. But it's to see him. So I think, back to what I was saying, I think, in my opinion, it's going to be good for the Republican Party for the midterms because they are so brash and they're so confident and they're going on all the media outlets. So there's no hiding it. There's no. Sometimes someone will say something and someone will sling mud from the other side saying this is what they meant or this is what they're implying. And you're like, are they? You're kind of like not convinced. But they are proudly going on all these networks, liberal networks, MS Now, CNN, all them, and saying, yep, we're for all that. Get rid of borders, get rid of police, get rid of Senate, you can't get rid of the Senate and the Supreme Court. They're the founding pillars of this country, and you're not,
It would take a constitutional change.
Yeah,
and
I love it when it's a governor who say, like, you have a candidate for governor in Wisconsin or Michigan, whatever one. I think it's Wisconsin. She's also a commie, and she's like, I'm going to push for that. We're going to get like you have no influence over that. You're a freaking governor. You have about as much influence as Madami does in arresting Netanyahu, like zero. Uh, and so I think it's going to be good. Mark this date, August 20th, episode 405. We'll have to go back and replay, but I think it could very well lead to uh, a crushing of the Democrats in the midterms. And I think a lot of the Democrats, like Carville and so many of them, they know that, and they're
Hmm.
worried about that. They know
Well,
it's going
you've
to
got a
turn.
lot of hardcore Democrats, like Carville's one of them. Bill Maher. They're like, I can't vote for this.
Right.
I just simply cannot. I don't know who I'm going to vote for, but I can't vote for that.
You know who does like him? Who is really a well-known Democrat who likes him and is really pitching for him? Hunter Biden. He thinks they're great. He thinks Al Saeed's great. He thinks Angie's great. He thinks all these socialists are Tarico there. What are they? He's got a number of
Right,
names. I
down
know.
in Texas.
Yeah, they think Hunter Biden was on the other day, just like damn, he thinks they're the new life of the Democratic Party. So I mean, if you got Hunter Biden behind you, preaching your good graces, then I mean, I guess are you a shoe in? I'm not
Right.
sure you are. I don't think you have the name Biden. I don't think anyone wants you near him. You know, kind of like that the lady running for in Alaska who rejected Kamala's support. He's like, I didn't ask for you to speak for me. Like,
Right.
you keep your stuff down there in the lower 48. Yeah.
Speaking of Biden, did you see how Jill is going on, still promoting her book and everything? And she's now claiming that there's a possibility Biden was drugged before that debate. She
Oh,
wasn't worried about stroke, but she's now saying that he could have been drugged prior to that.
yeah. Which a couple months ago she was worried about the stroke and she thought he had a
Yeah.
stroke,
Yeah.
but yet she didn't do anything to like get him medical attention. Just let him go up there and do it.
Yeah.
She is that drunk on her own power. I mean, she proudly walked around calling herself a doctor, and they, the media shamed anyone if they said she's not a real doctor. I think she's so high on her own supply that that she thinks people are that gullible and will just listen to whatever she says and go, "Yeah, I got
Well,
you."
Michelle Obama's the same way.
Yeah.
She's been to the pinnacle of politics in this country. The wife of the president of the United States, and yet she plays the victim every time.
Right.
My life is so hard. No,
Yeah.
no, you went to Harvard. You studied law. You were the first lady. Your life is not hard.
Right. Right. There, she did not suffer at all. She did not,
No.
she was not like a Ben Carson or even a JD Vance who
Right.
grew up truly on the wrong side of the tracks, had everything, every card in the deck was stacked against them except one or two, yet they were able to pull those lucky ones out and
Yeah.
make something of themselves and not fall victim to, all the odds that were stacked against them. Yeah. No, she loves playing that for sure. But it is one thing I've come to learn. It's you see a lot of stuff in the media, and it's hard. It's easy for all of us. And when we're on the go and we're as busy as we are, it's easy to fall victim to just hearing it, and you hear it enough, you believe. Look, this is how communists and dictators have come to power. This is how the Taliban and extreme Muslims have ruled for so long because they control the media. They control what came out of those blue megaphones above the mosque. They said it enough, and the people had no other way to counter it, and they believed it. They say enough that Americans are coming to kill you and take your children and rape your wives. They turned, normal, regular Muslims in the village against Americans because they just kept saying enough. They're sure we keep saying it all the time. I guess it's really
Right.
true, right? We fall for that same thing here, and I've talked about it a number of times on the show, right? And like I say, I'm just as much as guilty of anyone else. Where you hear it enough, and you go, there must be fire. There's enough smoke. People keep fanning smoke at me. But the one thing I've learned in the first Trump administration and now this one is anytime the media starts talking about something, I just now consider it completely the opposite. It's full of shit.
Right.
Right? If the media is harping on the last few days, what I saw in my news feed was where's Melania? She's been gone for a month. Oh, this Ossoff in Georgia talked about this young admin and Trump's, and he's just flying around with her because this one dude said it. Melania, she came out today at the Rose Garden. Was like, I heard y'all miss me. Like, she doesn't have to. They jump on whatever they can, and when they do, they all get their talking points. I think someone texts them. I don't know if it's George Soros has them all in text chat or signal chat, but tells them all what to say. And if you bounce around to majority of the media outlets because that are very liberal and leaning, and the big three main TVs, and then you throw CNN, MS Now, and all the rest of them on, they're all saying it from different angles in different voices. And people go, I guess it really is true. Trump is having an affair with this admin who's been there the whole time, and they're just it's like that's just a recent example in the last couple of days. But what I've determined, my feeling, not determined, I'll just say this is my opinion. When I hear them jump on something, whether it's Trump or someone around Trump, it could be J.D. Vance, it could be Rubio, it could be Todd Blanche, I just instantly go, wow, it's the opposite of that. Right. Whatever they say there's smoke there, they're bringing it to and releasing smoke. There's nothing. There's no fire. And now I could be wrong one day, and I could really believe something and come to find out it's all true. But man, in 6 years of him being president, I haven't seen it once.
Right. Well, I mean, the media and the Democrat Party itself is the only platform they have. Well, other than the DSA, is Trump bad. I mean, that is their platform.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And Trump gives them enough to. I mean, he goes. I mean, they forget he knows how to run the narrative. He knows how to spin the media. We all know the first 4 years and these last couple, he doesn't have to in both campaigns. He didn't have to buy ad time. He lived rent free in every one of their heads and on every one of their news cycles. And he would purposely say something and do something. Oh, it just reminded me. Was it today? Was he on? Who was his attorney? Remember his big tall attorney? Who was his personal attorney that went to jail? I think he was on his podcast today. He was supposed to be recorded. He was on. I saw the news the other day that they were recording yesterday. What the hell is his name? I don't normally ask my producer, but you're here. Anyways, I think he was on his podcast today. Trump knows how to get attention. I mean, he will face anybody.
Right. Michael Cohen.
Yeah, he called him sleazebag, Cohen, slimebag, all that kind of stuff. And I think today they aired it. I have to go find it. He was on his podcast and got interviewed by him. He knows how to play and get people to talk about him. And sometimes they'll take that and they'll spin it and make it into something else. But you definitely got to sift through it. There's a lot of sifting that has to happen in what you hear in the media or what people see on social media or whatever else, for sure. And
we saw that recent that company out of the north that did that fake poll, right?
Good one.
Yeah, I don't understand how that's not considered election interference. So in 2016, a guy posted a meme on Twitter at the time about elections, and it was a meme. It was a joke, and he went to jail for 7 months for posting that meme about elections because they said it was election interference. So how can this company post a fake poll, admit to it, and not get charged with election interference?
Yeah, just shut his poll company down.
Yeah.
And
Median Strategies was the name.
Yeah, and it was 2 polls, right? One was, I forget who it was. It was for 2 different candidates or 2 different elections.
It was Bass.
Oh, it's Karen Bass's. You're right.
Karen Bass and
another one.
Raman.
And they made them up. They just made up the numbers, and the media ran with it, which is why Hillary losing in 2016 was such a shock, and why all the polls since then have been such a shock, because even though that admittedly came out and said they lied, many others were just like, they were saying and coming out with results that the media wanted. They wanted they wanted that bucket full of water to carry for them, and so they jump all
Right.
on it, right? And anyone that's ever done polling or knows anything about polling, I've talked about it here how they would call our house. I wouldn't answer, but my wife would answer and talk to them, and she would talk to them to answer all their questions, and then at the end, when they asked what party, because she would answer honestly, and I'm sure they started to pick up, example after example where she did it. When she got the answer, no, I'm a conservative register, or I'm going to vote for Trump or whatever, they would hang up. And when they hang up and drop the connection, that poll didn't count. They weren't able to close it out. So if they got the answers they wanted, that was one more in their books. If they got the answers they didn't want, and most conservatives don't answer polls.
No.
They don't do that kind of stuff. So,
well, because we're usually busy and have jobs and can't answer the phone.
If you're doing polls at Starbucks or on a college university grounds, then you're going to get one kind of answer, right?
Sure. I just don't. For the life of me, I don't know why they've not been charged with election interference.
Yeah,
maybe it's coming. I don't know.
Maybe it will. I mean, Swalwell today had his phone snatched, or this last weekend had his phones and MacBook Pros and stuff snatched up.
Had his house raided.
Had his house raided. So they're putting their case together. Who knows? But yeah, that's and it just. I think when you saw those polls in 2016, we saw the polls in 2020 and 24. And people couldn't believe it and all that kind of mess. Again, a pollster will, there's good pollsters out there. There's others that will skew the results on purpose. But the bottom line is if the people don't want to talk to you, then you're not going to have good numbers. They always say, right, the real poll that counts is at the ballot box. Okay.
Right.
And that's true. And that's why someone can spend less than $1 million and blow out a dude who was a darling of the Democrats, a chow thief Vindman there, and he had 16 million in backing by Schumer, and he got crushed.
Right.
You look at the Hong or whatever her name was up in Michigan. Was it Michigan? I think right where she was at, the Asian another communist.
Right.
She was leading by 20 points in all the polls.
Oh yeah, and it was like overnight to change.
She lost to a dude that had dropped out, and the governor begged him to come back and was back for a week, and he barely just beat her by like 3,000 votes. But she was leading by 20 points across the board weeks up to that. Vindman thought he had it in back. He never even debated her. Would never even say Angie's name there. Would never even consider her a valid candidate. Never went out and did any debates, did other stuff. She crushed him.
Right.
But we've seen polls be wrong so much over the last 3 main elections that maybe they're like weathermen. They're allowed to be wrong over and over and over, and you just still they get to keep their job. I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
And what do they have to do to validate themselves to make them? I mean, like this one that just that made the 2 fake polls. Do they have to go through some kind of? Do they need to go through a vetting process? Do they need to, almost like USDA certified beef or ISO 9000 certified business process or any other kind of certification? Does there need to be a neutral, unbiased third party validation or certification of a polling company?
Well, and it really speaks volumes that some of the major news outlets picked it up as fact. So the news outlets aren't even verifying what they're putting out. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Again, carrying that pail of water.
Yeah. Oh, it's anti-Trump. It must, let's do this. So
right.
It is utterly ridiculous.
Yeah, it's. I guess we'll see, but I'm still going back August 20th. That all these commies winning is going to be really good for the GOP come the midterms.
Right.
And I said when before Trump got elected in 24, I said if he wins, he's not draining the swamp. He's burning the swamp down. He don't give a crap. It's his last one.
Sure.
Well, we saw in his first 100 days. We saw in his first year he moved at a lightning speed level and was just right doing thing one. I mean, he was not waiting around. I'll say it again here. He wins. The GOP maintains or increases their control in the midterms of the House and Senate, and it is going to be game on Donkey Kong. Like it's going to be, if they get it where they can get a veto, or not, they don't even need veto proof. If they can just get a majority, an overwhelming majority, if they can get 66, seats in the Senate, if they can build that majority on that slim line of seats they have in the House, there truly is no stopping him for the last 2 years.
Yeah. Did you see he was wearing a Trump 2028 hat the other day?
Again the other day.
Yeah.
Someone asked me the other day, I put up when we were out camping last week and we had some flags, patriotic flags we always do at this house that we rent. I say camping, we rent a house. And the homeowner always wants to, he lives in PA and he always wants a picture of the flags because all the neighbors tell him and he loves them. And I put him in, he was like, where's the Trump 2028 flag? I'm like, oh, okay. I have 9-10 flags up there. There's one I don't have. I'm like, I don't have that one yet.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
I was a little worried that the Iran issue was going to affect midterms, but with all of these DSA candidates, I think that's going to be a non-issue.
You think that's going to wipe out the concerns over gas prices? I mean, the eggs have dropped, all it dropped. Gas prices, oil's bouncing between roughly 85 to 102, 105. Do you think that's going to? Let me ask you this: do you think that's going to counteract the DSA candidates? Are going to counteract that, and then also the utility prices and the data centers? Where do those fall in your opinion? Which one's going to be more important to the American people?
I think the data centers are more important because that physically takes up property, physically takes up resources, especially those who are watching their electricity bills go up. When you throw a data center in your backyard, not only do you have to worry about the grid now, your area is now a bigger target than it was before, especially when you're putting these data centers in rural America, right? You're not throwing a data center downtown New York City.
But you're now throwing, right? You're throwing rural America. There's not a lot of votes in rural America.
There's not, but
no one gives a crap. Build prisons out there, and I say that some good friends of mine and coworkers live in rural America, and there's data centers going up possibly right near their house. But that's one. That's not even half of a block in New York City of voters in hundreds of square miles. I mean, so.
You've seen how wind farms can affect elections, right? People don't want to see them, right? And then now when
are the data, is this hatred of data centers? Is it truly the true feelings of what the American people feel? Because it seems to be all on the left now. Data centers is bad, or is it being funded by the Chinese who don't want us to have data centers because they want to hold all the cards?
I think it's a combination of a lot of things, right? So a lot of misinformation out there. One of the things is, well, they used up all this water. No, they don't. So anybody who's ever been in a data center understands that once you fill the chillers that cool the data center, that water is recirculated and reused. It's not this constant flow of water from the area that's filling up this data center every day. That's not the way it works.
They build them all along Niagara Falls and then just let it cool it off, right?
Yeah. That's not the way it works.
No, because in all honesty, and this working in IT, I was talking to someone about this week, right? They're called, it's called the cloud now. We used to call them ASPs.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're the same thing. Big data centers that companies did not have to want to deal with managing raised data data centers and servers and 42U racks. They would just buy that service from someone that's handling all that and all the logistics that needs to go around hosting that. So people go, oh, my stuff's in the cloud. No, your stuff's still sitting somewhere. People thought their stuff was in the cloud and their stuff was in AWS Dubai. And on day 3 of the war, that entire data center burnt to the ground because it got rocketed by Iran, right? Nothing sits in the cloud. Elon wants to put his data centers in the cloud so they're cooled off by space, but it all sits somewhere on the earth. And the AI is driving a lot and people are building data centers, but depending on how things go and technology works, those companies could find themselves out of a lot of money really quick, um, or selling it pennies on the dollar or whatever. But yeah, my question about that is, it seems to be it's a left talking point. It's a Dems like data centers are bad as they're on their phone on Gemini or Grok or
Right.
Chat GPT. They're saying data centers are bad, because it's almost like they're being told to say that. But
Well, it's the same ones that bitch about capitalism, right? While they're talking on their phone, while they're sipping their chai latte, that was all produced with capitalism,
right,
right? They bitch about oil while they, again, your phone and everything that you own is a derivative of oil. Your plastics, all of that comes from getting that oil out of the ground. If you stopped, we'd all be running around in hemp. Uh,
everything, just about everything that Tesla's made out of is good, comes
yeah,
from petroleum,
yeah,
right? Yeah, and no, that's it's a necessary evil. Yes, we need to find
yeah,
alternative ways and stuff, but it just isn't there yet. You can't just say, you can't have a green energy project and say get rid of it, and we're not going to have fossil fuel burning thing. Yeah, we'd be good to have something. I think hybrids are great because they produce their own energy, and you have a mixture, and it definitely lessens the amount of fuel that needs to be used. I'm not a fan of all electric because they actually do a lot of damage between what it takes to mine and make the batteries and the weight on the roads from they're so much heavier, the wear and tear on the tires and the roads themselves. I mean, there's a lot of bad things, but you know, um, the batteries alone are doing great damage. It's like all the solar panels um, in California that were subsidized 20 years ago. Well, they only last for those photo cells only last 20 years. Now they're having to recycle them. And there's one company in the entire country that does it, and they are backlogged by years because they have to replace out all those solar panels. They go bad, and you have to take them apart a certain way. Well, that's all. It has to go somewhere. Just like the big windmill fans.
yeah.
The blades on those big,
Fiberglass has to
windmills.
go somewhere.
Yeah, it's you can either stick your head in the sand and just do what someone's telling you to say what to do, or you can do some investigation and realize that, oh, this gives me a little bit of hope, and I feel like I'm making a difference. No, that was just all that any progress was just obliterated
Right.
from a wildfire in Canada.
You mentioned the electric cars. There is a sector of the population that is pushing heavily for a lot of the 80s and older model vehicles because one of the things that's been pushed through Congress, it's gotten uh, turned down, but was the ability to control your vehicle by authorities, right? So as you're driving, let's say you're speeding, you kidnap somebody or whatever, they can shut down your vehicle remotely.
Right.
Well, if you're an 80s vehicle that has no electronics, there's no ECU in it, they can't shut you down. And so there is a portion of the population that is pushing, and you're seeing a lot of YouTube channels pop up with all these older, these F-250s with the diesel engines and stuff like that. There's a big push in that area for that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even that, right? Uh, the 2500s or 3/4 ton trucks don't have the auto stop on them, and now the Trump
Right,
administration has eliminated that, right? And the Chevy vehicles that have the AFM DFM, which cut the number of cylinders, same thing. 2500s or bigger, 3/4 ton trucks don't have that.
right.
But yeah, it's a lot of people are going back to that. I mean, I remember when I was first driving. Remember leaded gas?
Oh yeah.
I remember my car ran on leaded gas, and when they mandated to get rid of it, I was pissed because it was the cheapest gas.
Yeah.
I'm sure
There were
it's not
still
good.
leaded gas pumps in Germany when I was there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, I'm sure it wasn't good for us. I'm assuming, but
Especially if you washed your hands with it like I used to
yeah,
do.
yeah, get the paint off.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was always the cheapest gas.
Hmm.
60, 70 cents a gallon, and I think it's probably what I was paying in the mid 80s.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
the data centers and the controlling of the cars, the other portion of that is this growth of flock cameras, right?
oh, that's
And
big.
and the
I just
flock cameras are going everywhere. I'm seeing reports of them outside of, gun ranges and things like that. And so
There's a
people are like,
website here that shows them all locally, shows which direction they're going, where they're at,
yeah,
And there's a lot of I mean, people are cutting them down and stuff, and it's not so much they're worried about their plates being read, because there's plate readers on cop cars. They usually sit on the trunk, but it's a privacy thing, right? It's a
sure.
it's there's enhanced security. If you're a victim of a crime or something, it'd be great if they catch them and see them. But there's also just the thing of like, are they going to watch everywhere you go? And it's a private company. It's not a government.
Sure.
It's not a government agency. It's a private company making money off of doing government work. Which there's some laws here that may be getting broken, that may be getting challenged over that, because.
Well, you remember a couple of years ago when Obama was talking about, well, we're not reading your emails, we're just looking at the metadata. Well, the metadata with these flock cameras is where you were, when you were, who you were with, and then they can start taking that and say, okay, well, we know he was in the vicinity. Now we get a warrant to look at his bank account. So now we know what he spent. Now we need a warrant based on those two items to get for his house. So now, based simply on a camera, they now have a warrant for your bank account in your house.
Yeah.
On speculation.
Right.
And you've broken no laws.
Right. And that's exactly it. I mean, in Australia, when I was there, I came back. It was a great place to work for a couple months, but I was like, they have no concept of privacy. You can't go into a nightclub in Australia, a bar or nightclub, without them scanning your ID, your driver's license, because they all have these kiosks that are in front of the bar or restaurant, like a bouncer, like, where you come pay your cover charge or whatever. And they scan your ID, and if they've never had you in there before, they take your info and type it in, all that kind of stuff. And those are all interconnected. So if you get thrown out of one bar, get into a skirmish, get thrown out, and you get like yellow flagged, and if you go down the street, I saw this happen, and you go into another, they'll be like, wait a minute. As soon as you present your ID, it's like, you just, what happened down the street? Why were you, we don't know if we want you here. All this stuff.
Right.
Like, you can't even get into a bar without them scanning your ID, and they know exactly where, and they know every bar you've been in. And there's cameras everywhere. I mean, you can't walk down the street and not have a camera watching you just get passed off from one to another. It's crazy. The lack of privacy over there, at least in Australia, which is obviously a very westernized country, right? It's,
what was that Will Smith movie, Enemy of the State?
Yep.
You ever seen that with Gene Hackman?
Yeah.
Cameras everywhere. It's monitoring everything he does, his bank records, all of that.
Right. That's kind of what it's going to. Right?
Yeah.
It's like all the what's the ones with what's the I can't think. Tom Cruise ones, the action ones.
The one where they're predicting the future.
Well, not that. It's always like there's always a group of people in some kind of like talk or something, and they're watching.
Oh, Mission Impossible.
Yeah, like the Mission Impossible or the and the other ones with I can't think of the name, but yeah, where they're just zoom in on this, and they've got granted it's Hollywood. There was Hollywood at the time, right? But with drones now, they can see phenomenal. Cameras have gotten so much better. But they can zoom right in. Oh, look, watch them drive down the street and all that stuff. All that was fantasy cool stuff years ago. But man, you look at what's happening with drones.
Sure.
There's a lot of police agencies that never had helicopters, never could afford them. They all have drones.
Right.
They train them, and they have drone officers that put them things up in a second, which is great if you're trying to catch someone.
Yeah.
If you're using it for the right purposes, but it can, like anything, it could be misused. And
well, there's a margin of error too, right? So that woman who was caught on flock, and they said, well, you matched this other person, and it wasn't even her, right? They came to her house, accused her of stealing packages. She was within so many blocks of that house multiple times because she was caught on flock camera. And she's like, I don't steal packages. I wasn't even there at that time.
Right.
And the officer wouldn't take her word for it.
The lady they arrested today that was planning to blow up the New York State Capitol, right? They've already come out today. They 5 times they watched her walk around outside, inside the Capitol. She was casing the place. Now, granted, I'm glad they caught her, And luckily she was talking to an undercover FBI informant, but she was serious about her action she was going to do. But they watched her every time she came in and around the Capitol. They have all that evidence.
She was only 35. She's young.
She was young,
Yeah.
and she was totally radicalized.
Yeah.
She talked about how after 9/11 she was waving American flags at her school, and now she drives around her car. Apparently, had pictures of the towers down and burning
Right.
towers and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, I mean they tracked. So yeah, there's it's good to have it. I mean, I have cameras around my house.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, you don't get near my house without me knowing about it and it being recorded.
Yeah.
But that's for my private protection. If someone doesn't want to be on camera, don't walk up to my house. But and everyone in the mama has a flipping Ring doorbell.
Yeah.
I think those are some variant of it. I mean, I don't know.
I live
Maybe
down a quarter-mile driveway. Nobody's just walking up to my house.
no. If I lived down a quarter-mile driveway, I'd have a GSR out there. I'd be picking up movement and.
I do have a driveway alarm.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah,
And you also have a big dog.
I do. Very
Which is
big
like
dog.
A driveway alarm just poops a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, So anyway, so I mentioned earlier, so that Michael Cohen interview is going to air tonight and more on Sunday.
Interesting.
So he actually interviewed him today. So it hasn't hit yet, but that's going to be something. And they said that it was about a 40-minute interview. And he played a little bit tonight on his show, but he's playing the rest this weekend. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of buzz over that.
Well, I mean, somebody like Cohen, is just going to bump up his numbers, right?
Right.
He's going to get a lot of subscribers or whatever. So
I mean, it would be,
there's
if
a lot
we
of
could get the
views.
president on this show, it would bump ours up too. That's for sure.
Yeah.
We just would have no controversy except just like they'd be like, why is he on that show? But
I'll tell you what numbers are down. Border crossings.
Oh, dramatically.
It's amazing how when you just simply close the border, that people stop coming across.
Yeah.
Didn't take congressional work at all.
Now, what Biden said, he needed Congress to act.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing when you enforce standards or laws.
The law's already on the books.
Right. And you enforce them, that fixes itself. And behaviors will change. If you quit doing bail reform and you actually didn't just arrest someone, then gave them a summons to come back later, which is like what happens here in New York, people would not be repeating crimes all night long and continuing to do it. If you actually penalized them, these punks that run around all over the neighborhoods trying to steal cars, if they made a law and said if someone tries to steal your car, you can shoot them right in your driveway, there'd be nobody stealing cars.
Right.
There's a reason why there's stand your ground laws, and where those places are have a lot less crime than places that don't. But it's all about enforcing standards and carrots and a stick, right? Without laws, without punishment, you're gonna have anarchy.
Well, we're still seeing people who were just allowed to run free under the Biden administration committing crimes and a lot of the murders in a lot of cases, right? There was just a case. This guy was dating some woman and killed her. I think it was in North or South Carolina, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, he should have never been here. She'd still be alive if he wasn't.
I mean, there's name after name of young ladies over the last since the Biden administration who were raped and murdered. 13-year-olds in Texas, girls running in the morning before they go to college, whatever, that were all by illegals, right? That should never have been here. And not that they got in one time and just slipped the whole system. They were getting deported, allowed back in, deported, allowed back in, right? And just, I can't imagine the pain that a parent, grandparent, or any loved one would have knowing that is completely preventable,
Right.
It is, it would be a level of pain and guilt of look, accidents happen. We get it. Trees fall anywhere you're driving down the road and earthquakes happen and things go and whatever it may be. you're still going to miss that person. It sucks. Is why it happened to happen to them. But when it is 110% preventable and there were laws already that would have prevented that or prevented that person from being in a place that could allow them to do a crime, and it still happens and you lose your loved one, the anger and pain is beyond what I can imagine.
Well, the depravity of these women in Congress that sit there and are not supportive of these mothers that have lost, these fathers that have lost their daughters, that still want open borders, and that's a level of depravity that's just unfounded. I mean, it's
But
crazy
but
that
those women are also the
anyone.
ones that say they care about women's rights,
Yes,
but are fine with letting men beat the crap out and hurt women in sports,
yes, yeah,
and also, like you say, come across and just murder, rape,
yeah,
and destroy lives of young women. And I think they can't say I care about women's rights or women.
no,
You're not allowed to say that if you're
no,
allowed that to happen.
no,
You
not
know,
at all.
that's like an abortion doctor going, I care about babies as they're killing them. Like you can't say that,
Right.
And you look at that right now. Massachusetts signed the law that it's one of I think 13. I
Up
don't
to
know how many
birth.
states that allows them to abort up to birth based on the recommendation of a doctor. Okay, the doctor's a admirable profession. So is cop, preacher, pastor, priest, and
Sure.
name any other one. But there are bad people that get into those jobs. And just because someone's a doctor doesn't mean they're going to be ethical. There's been no shortage of doctors that weren't.
Right.
Um,
Look at COVID.
like those that get kickback for pushing pharmaceuticals. Um, so just they can up till birth, but yet that baby's born, and 6 hours later, if you kill that baby, then it's murder. How is that not
Yeah.
murder just because
Yeah.
it hasn't, you know?
Well, if you
breathed
kill
yet?
the mother while she's still pregnant, then it's double
Then
homicide.
it's double murder. Yes,
Yeah.
in that same in Massachusetts,
Yeah.
drunk driver hits a 8 month pregnant woman, kills her and the baby. They're getting charged double murder. But if
Yeah.
that woman was driving to an abortion clinic and had an abortion, she would not. It's so these elected leaders and people of positions like that are elected, or whether at the state, local, or national level, they don't get to say that if they don't support
Right.
keeping women safe and girls safe in all aspects, whether it's by keeping criminals locked up and illegals out of here, or it is not allowing let the girls play. There's everyone. No one hides that there are physical differences between the two. We also know there are women you I probably both met that would beat the crap out of both of us and are tougher than most of the dudes that we serve with.
Yeah.
Right, but that's an anomaly.
Sure.
Right? Just like there are guys that are more feminine than many women we know. I mean, and are weaker and that kind of thing. But that's an anomaly. That's not in general. Physiology is very distinctly different.
Yeah.
And you put a man dressed in drag as woman of the year and this and that. It's like, dude, you can't even let him have a chance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah. All right. Well, we knew we'd hit some topics. I don't think we hit them all, but
We had a good number of them.
We did.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to wrap up with?
No, it's interesting time to be alive.
Yeah. We got some Lehman Charlies I know we're working up. Hopefully we can get that one. The one you got lined up, maybe we can get that before Tuesday. And we got some guests working on. We got to get Bert, Mrs. Zua down,
Mrs. Howie.
Mrs. Howie. We need to get him back on. He won his primary. Yeah, we got some folks in the lineup. We're getting an election season. I'm sure there's no shortage of folks that we can get.
Right.
But yeah, well, thank you everybody for tuning in. We didn't have a lot. It looked like I was watching the numbers a little bit, but thank you for tuning in, listening to me, Rob and I talk. And thank you everyone for joining us and giving us your Thursday night or taking time to listen to this later. Rob, I think we're done.